I will never forget the look in her eyes when she walked into the interview room. Wide, shocked, and angry. My cousin, who had told me I had nothing, now wanted to work under me. Our families always said we were like sisters. Little did they know that one of us had secretly hated the other all our childhood. My name is Lauren. I'm 42 years old, live in Charleston, South Carolina, and I run a growing home design business that I built from scratch. Most people who meet me now think I've always had it figured out. Truth is, I spent half my life being underestimated, including by my own family. Especially by my cousin, Rachel. We were born just 6 months apart, raised practically in each other's back pockets. Our moms are sisters. Very close, almost codependent. So naturally, Rachel and I were always thrown together. Same summer camps, same ballet classes, even the same Sunday school group. And for most of our childhood, people loved to say we were like twins. But inside, we couldn't have been more different. Rachel was the golden child. Blonde, bubbly, homecoming queen energy. She was the kind of girl who was always effortlessly popular. Captain of the cheer team, dating the quarterback, straight white teeth from age 10. I, on the other hand, was quieter. I liked sketching rooms and furniture, rearranging my bedroom every few months, and reading Martha Stewart Living like it was a sacred text. While she was winning prom queen, I was busy teaching myself how to refinish thrift store furniture in our garage. Our family didn't always understand me. They smiled politely at my creative phase, assuming I'd outgrow it. Rachel, though, was vocal in her doubt. "Are you really gonna live off repainting chairs?" she once asked, loud enough for everyone to hear at Thanksgiving dinner. I laughed it off, but it stayed with me. Those words always did. In college, she went straight into marketing and landed a high-paying job at an agency in Atlanta. I stayed local and juggled waitressing with night classes in interior design. Every Christmas, she'd arrive in heels and designer coats, tossing stories about her travels, her clients, her bonuses. Meanwhile, I brought homemade candles as gifts and hoped no one asked what I was doing these days. It wasn't just competition, it was tension. Unspoken. Constant. The way she'd tilt her head when I talked about my business plans, like she didn't believe I had what it took. Or the way she bragged about her salary whenever my mom brought up my Etsy store. "Oh, that's cute," she once said about one of my room makeovers that had gone viral on Instagram. "You're like a Pinterest girl now." But I kept going. I worked hard, harder than anyone knew. I said yes to every small job, staged homes for realtors, flipped furniture on weekends, took online business courses between client calls. And slowly things started to shift. My online following grew. I got featured in a regional magazine. Client recommended me to a luxury builder. Then came the breakthrough. An HGTV producer stumbled on my YouTube channel and reached out. Within a year, my design business exploded. And suddenly people started seeing me differently. Including my cousin. I'll never forget the day she messaged me. It was short, polite, almost too polite. "Hey Lauren, I saw your feature in Southern Living. Congrats. I was wondering, are you hiring?" I read the message twice. Then again. I could feel my heart thudding, not out of excitement but something colder. Harper. Was this the same girl who rolled her eyes when I told her I wanted to open a boutique? The same cousin who once laughed at my DIY headboards. And now she wanted to work for me. I didn't reply right away. I sat with it. Let myself feel everything I'd swallowed over the years. The comparison, the quiet digs, the way I'd always been the quirky cousin while she was the one everyone thought would make it. But deep down I also knew something else. I had built something real. And the fact that she was now reaching out, well, that said more than anything she'd ever said out loud. When I finally replied, I kept it simple. "We're always looking for good people. Send me your resume." And she did. 2 days later. It was a good resume. Solid experience in PR, marketing campaigns, branding. She was qualified, no doubt. But it was surreal sitting across from her during the interview, watching her try to hide the fact that she was uncomfortable, maybe even humiliated. She didn't mention the past. I didn't either. But it hung in the room between us like humidity before a storm. And so I hired her. Not out of pity. Not out of revenge. But because I wanted to see what would happen when the power dynamic flipped. Because I wanted to know, could we ever work together as two grown women with all that history? And maybe, just maybe, I wanted her to see what it felt like to stand in my world for once. Because this wasn't the girl who used to scoff at my dreams. This was a woman sitting across from me, hands folded, needing a job. Needing me. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel complicated. First, things felt almost surreal. Rachel showed up to work each morning dressed in tailored blouses and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She was polite, competent, even deferential, but there was always this faint tightness in the air when she entered the room, like everyone had to hold their breath for a second. My team didn't know our full history, of course. They just knew she was my cousin, freshly hired into a marketing role. But I saw the way they looked at her. Curious, cautious, maybe even a little intimidated. Rachel had always had presence, and now she walked our office halls like she was trying to reclaim something she'd lost. First, I gave her space. I didn't micromanage. I wanted to believe we could be two grown women working together professionally. But it didn't take long before small things started to pile up. Emails she was supposed to send out that didn't go through. Brand pitches that missed the tone completely. One time, she scheduled a client walkthrough without telling the lead designer, and we showed up completely unprepared. When I confronted her about it, she blinked at me and said, "I thought someone else was handling that." No apology. No accountability. But it wasn't just about the work. There were the looks. The subtle eye rolls in meetings. The way she'd jump in when I was speaking, offering her opinion with that familiar edge of condescension. Once, during a staff brainstorm, I mentioned an idea for a summer design campaign, playing on Southern nostalgia and homegrown elegance. She smirked and said, "Isn't that a little overdone?" I bit my tongue. Moved on. But the room had felt it. Still, I didn't want to believe we were sliding back into old patterns. I told myself she was adjusting, that maybe she was just overwhelmed. But then came the incident that changed everything. It was during a presentation with one of our biggest new clients, a boutique hotel chain looking to do a full rebrand. We'd worked on the proposal for weeks. My team had spent late nights perfecting every mock-up, every tagline. Rachel was supposed to handle the brand voice section. I gave her trust. I gave her room to shine. She stood up in the meeting room, full of executives, investors, and key stakeholders, and presented a completely different deck than what we'd agreed on. Her version was sleek, flashy, and utterly off-brand. She'd removed the soft southern charm that defined our work and replaced it with cold minimalism. It looked like something out of a tech startup pitch. Worse, she barely acknowledged the rest of the team's work. She talked as if she had created the entire campaign. Afterward, I pulled her into my office. "Rachel, what was that?" She looked at me, arms crossed. I thought the original direction was too sentimental. This felt stronger. "That's not your decision to make. Not unilaterally. We're a team. You undermined everyone." She scoffed. "Maybe they need to be undermined once in a while. They've been coasting on mood boards and mason jars. You hired me for my expertise, so let me use it." That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just a difficult adjustment. She didn't respect me. Not as a boss. Not as a business owner. Maybe not even as a person. But the kicker. The client actually liked her version. They liked the edginess. They wanted to blend both visions. Which put me in a terrible spot. If I pushed back, I'd seem petty. If I accepted it, I'd be rewarding her insubordination. I went home that night and sat in my kitchen for hours, staring into my tea. This was more than creative differences. This was Rachel rewriting our dynamic in real time. 4 years she'd been the star, and now in my house she was trying to take the spotlight again. Things escalated quickly after that. She started meeting with clients without looping me in. One time she sent out a press release with her name listed as creative director. My title. When I confronted her, she said, "It's just a title. They don't care about the hierarchy. They care about the results." I could feel something bubbling in me, an anger I had swallowed for years. But I wasn't going to lose my business over a family grudge. So I made a decision. I started documenting everything. Every missed communication. Every disrespectful remark. Every deviation from protocol. And then came the final straw. One morning, my assistant came into my office, pale-faced, holding a printout of an email thread. Rachel had been messaging one of our vendors behind my back, undermining our pricing strategy, trying to negotiate her own terms, and worse, talking about me in a way that was deeply unprofessional. The words she used stung. Lauren doesn't really understand modern branding. She's stuck in her little DIY bubble. If you work with me directly, we can streamline everything. That was it. Called her in. Closed the door. Took a deep breath. Rachel, this isn't working. She looked up from her phone. Excuse me. I'm letting you go. Today. I've reviewed everything. And this isn't just about clashing visions. This is about respect and trust, and you've broken both. For a moment she said nothing. Then she stood up slowly, her face hard. You've always been jealous of me, you know. I laughed. I didn't mean to, it just came out. Jealous of what? Of being dismissed by you for 20 years. Of finally having something of my own and watching you try to rip it apart. She stared at me, something flickering in her eyes. Regret, maybe, or shame, or just plain rage. Then she turned and walked out. The office was quiet the rest of the day. No one said much. But in the days that followed, team morale lifted. Meetings were smoother. Ideas flowed again. And for the first time in months, I felt like the space belonged to me again. And deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of our story. Family never really ends. But I had drawn a line. Finally. And it felt like peace. I can't forget the feeling when I walked into the meeting room and saw Rachel standing there, like a dark cloud covering the bright sky of the whole company. She had done something I couldn't believe. Something I was sure she would never dare do, especially when I had entrusted her with an important part of the project. But she did. And now I had to face the consequences. We had been preparing for this meeting for weeks. My team and I had put so much effort into developing the new strategy, designing the visuals, and writing messages that truly reflected the core values of our brand. We wanted to show creativity, professionalism, and the trust our customers had in us. Rachel, who was responsible for the content, I had given her complete freedom within those parameters. I wanted her to have a chance to showcase her strengths because I truly believed in her. But then, everything changed in an instant. When the meeting started, I realized I had been deceived. Rachel stood up, wearing a simple white shirt and a confident look, and began presenting. But what she showed wasn't what we had discussed. It was a completely different set of strategies, one that not only broke every standard we had set but could potentially cause us to lose everything. She presented a design style completely unrelated to the core values we had built over the years. It was too cold, too rigid, and lacked emotion. It felt more like something designed for a tech company in Silicon Valley rather than for our customers who sought warmth and relatability in our brand. As I looked into the eyes of the people in the room, a wave of fear surged within me. They exchanged silent glances, no one saying a word. And then my eyes turned back to Rachel. She just smiled lightly, showing no sign of embarrassment or apology. Instead, she looked at me as if she had done something right, as if I was the one who didn't understand. I felt everything shattering. This wasn't a small mishap. It was a betrayal. A betrayal I couldn't overlook. I had placed all my trust in her, only for her to use that trust to tarnish the hard work of all of us. As soon as the meeting ended, I asked her to meet me in my office. We stood facing each other, the light from the desk lamp casting a cold atmosphere between us. I could no longer hold back. Rachel, why did you do that? My voice was firm, no longer soft. She looked at me, unfazed. I think we need something new, something stronger. Your strategy, it's too safe. I don't think our customers want that. Her words sent a chill through me. She wasn't just criticizing our strategy. She was undermining the work we had put into it. She didn't understand that the values I had spent my whole life building weren't something that could easily be changed just because of a few new ideas. People don't just buy our products because they're nice. They buy because there's a story, there's emotion behind it. Rachel, this isn't about whether it's strong or not. This is about respect. Respect for the work of the whole team. Respect for the values we've built. I spoke, trying to stay calm, but I felt heat rising in my face. Respect for the team. She laughed bitterly. They just follow the mood boards and make pretty pictures. They have no creativity. If you want to do something groundbreaking, I'll have to do it myself. Her tone was no longer soft. She was fully revealing her true self. And I realized that what she was seeking wasn't the collective success of the company, but to claim the spotlight, to prove that she was the only one worthy of recognition. And then she did it. In a meeting with a key client, she changed the strategy on her own, presenting a plan that had not been approved by me. But what hurt me more was how she acted like it was a major step forward. She found her own way out and walked with pride while I, the leader, had to stand there, helpless, watching it all fall apart. She had drawn the line, and I had to face the fact that she was no longer someone I could trust. She wasn't just challenging me at work. She was challenging everything I had spent a lifetime building. She had looked at me with the eyes of a conqueror while I felt like a failure, even though I had done everything I could to create a strong team. I knew this wasn't a small incident. It was the end of everything we had built. And I wouldn't let her destroy it. The price for this betrayal would be separation. And I wouldn't back down. When Rachel left the office, I stayed behind, sitting in the dim light, my hand gripping the pen, my eyes fixed on the computer screen. A strange feeling lingered, part anger, part disappointment, as I sat there. I knew I had to make a decision, but I wasn't sure where to start. Everything had shifted so quickly, and I was at a crossroads, having to make a choice I couldn't undo. I had trusted Rachel like a sister. She wasn't just a colleague, but a family member. I had given her opportunities, freedom to create because I believed in her talent. But now, everything had become a deep wound. She hadn't just messed up our work. She had betrayed the trust I'd placed in her. All my emotions, rage, hurt, and betrayal, were bubbling up inside me, but I knew I couldn't let myself drown in them. I had to take action. First, I called a few people on the team to check on things. I couldn't let Rachel disrupt the entire team without intervening. The quick, tense conversations helped me understand the situation better. Though it was difficult, I knew I couldn't just ignore it. If I was going to keep the team's trust, I had to show that I was a strong leader, even in the face of adversity. The next day, I called Rachel to my office. I knew this would be a tense confrontation, but I couldn't avoid it. When she walked into the room, I didn't see any sign of regret or worry. She still wore that same confident, almost smug expression she had from the start. A part of me wanted to lash out, but I wouldn't allow myself to. Right now, I needed to be calm and decisive. Rachel, I began, my voice calm but my disappointment clear. I gave you a chance to prove yourself, but you've taken advantage of it. You can't just change the strategy without my consent. That was a huge mistake. She didn't respond immediately. The silence stretched on, thick and uncomfortable. Finally, Rachel spoke, a small smile tugging at her lips. I don't think it was a mistake. We need change, and I think I'm doing the right thing. I understand you want to try new things and bring fresh ideas, but you can't do that without the team's agreement, I replied, looking her square in the eye. So, I can't allow you to continue working on the projects at this company. Rachel stared at me, her face showing a hint of surprise, but then she slowly nodded. So, it's over then. I guess there's nothing left to say. A wave of pain rose in my chest, but I refused to let it control me. This was the right decision. Rachel needed to understand that talent and intelligence weren't enough. Arrogance and disrespect would only lead to the wrong path. And I couldn't accept that, not in my company. The feeling of ending a professional relationship wasn't easy, especially when the person was family. But I understood that to maintain professionalism in both work and life, sometimes you had to face truths you didn't want to accept. I chose not to let personal feelings interfere with business. As painful as it was, I had to stand firm. The next day, I decided to hold a meeting with the entire team. I wanted everyone to know that, despite the challenges, we would continue to move forward. Everyone had worked hard, and none of them deserved to be affected by Rachel's failure. We would rely on the strength of our team to overcome any difficulty. In the meeting, I began by expressing my sincere thanks to the team for their perseverance and dedication. I told them that this change would make us stronger, and every challenge was an opportunity to improve and grow. Even though no one spoke up, I could feel their agreement in the looks they gave me. When the meeting ended, I felt a little lighter. Even though removing Rachel from the team wasn't easy, I knew it was the right choice. I couldn't keep allowing disrespectful behavior to affect everything we had built. My company, my team, and I all deserved respect and genuine commitment. And in the end, I learned that sometimes making tough decisions with a strong hand is necessary to protect the values you hold most dear. In this world, nothing is more valuable than honesty, and I wouldn't let anyone break that. Every decision in life comes with a price, and when I look back, I can't help but wonder if I did the right thing. Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads, knowing that a decision could change everything? I once believed that work and career were the most important things in life. But now I realize that what truly matters is honesty and self-respect. I can't allow myself to live in deceit, no matter who it's from. The days that followed were a return to normalcy at the office, but everything inside me had changed. I no longer looked at the world with the naive gaze I once had. My conversations with colleagues became deeper. They were no longer just co-workers but people I trusted and respected. My company was no longer just a place of work. It had become a second family, where every individual had value and was treated with respect. We built an environment where everyone could grow and showcase their abilities, but there was no place for those who wanted to deceive or destroy. As for Rachel, I can't deny that her betrayal left a wound that couldn't heal instantly. I had once considered her close, a part of my life and work. But now I understand that sometimes familiarity can blind us. I had trusted her too much, and the price of that blind trust is immeasurable. But I also learned an important lesson from this experience. No one, not even a close family member, has the right to hurt you without facing consequences. And I couldn't allow that to happen in the environment I had created. When I walked into that room to face Rachel, it felt as though I was standing between two worlds. One world was filled with deceit, betrayal, and pain. The other world was about growth, strength, and decisiveness. I was no longer the young girl who was easily hurt. I had become a woman who had learned how to rise after failure, after betrayal. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could decide how I faced it. After that conversation, I realized that, as painful as it was, I could still move forward. Failure is not the end. It is an opportunity to refresh and rebuild from the ground up. Every challenge brings a lesson, and I learned so much about patience, self-respect, and how to protect myself. I was no longer afraid of change. I had stood firm even if I had to face pain because I knew that, in the end, everything would be okay. Each time I looked in the mirror, I saw a stronger woman than before. I wasn't perfect, but I had learned to love myself more, and to let go of things that were not worthy of me. I no longer needed recognition from anyone else. I knew my worth, and I would not allow anyone to hurt me again. I can't say that everything was perfect after what had happened. Life went on, work continued, but I had changed. I no longer dwelled on Rachel's betrayal, but every time I thought of her, there was a sense of regret. Regret for the opportunities lost. Regret for a person I had once trusted, now gone. But I also understood that no one can continue on their path without sacrificing certain things. And sometimes loss is the key to opening new doors. For me, this story is not just about betrayal or trust, but about growing through the stumbles. It's a lesson in how to rise after being knocked down, in how to find strength when everything around you seems to crumble. I can't change the past, but I can change how I perceive and face challenges in the future. And the most important thing is that I learned how to love and protect myself so no one can hurt me again. And if there's one message I want to convey through this story, it's this: never forget your self-worth. Don't let anyone make you lose faith in yourself. And most importantly, never be afraid of change. When you stand firm, you'll realize that, in the end, everything happens for a reason, and every decision, no matter how difficult, brings valuable lessons. As we all face the twists and turns that life throws at us, it's easy to feel lost or uncertain at times. But remember, the decisions we make today shape the future we step into tomorrow. If you've ever felt betrayed or struggled to rise from a difficult situation, you are not alone. The truth is, we all have the strength within us to move forward, to learn from the hard times, and to come out stronger than before. If my story resonates with you in any way, I encourage you to reflect on your own journey. How have you faced adversity? How have you found strength when everything seemed to fall apart? Maybe it's time to let go of the past and embrace a new chapter in your life. If you've ever struggled to stand up for yourself or find your voice, share your thoughts with me. Let's talk about it. Leave a comment below, and let's start a conversation about the strength we have inside us to overcome the hurdles life sets in our path. And if you've enjoyed this story and found value in it, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be a part of the next journey. You are not alone, and together we can grow stronger and share the lessons we've learned along the way. Remember, the power to create the life you want is already within you. Take that step today.